Go, do not collect $200.
They're morally bankrupt right now. All right. Well, let Brian know so he can run his hat around the thing. Are you still the hat or are you something else now?
No, I'm something else. I'm a dolphin. I can't remember.
All right.
I accepted some. Oh no, I think I'm the dog. I'm the little Scotty dog.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I bet that animates pretty good.
It does.
It's one of my favorite things about the game is how it animates.
Spoink, spoink, spoink. How they,
That game makes up for a lot of bullshit with its charm.
It really does.
Because there's a lot of bullshit in there.
Well said. Yes.
Lots of bullshit, lots of charm. Turns out the charm helps.
Yes, for sure.
All right. I'm going to wipe this thing out of my eye. What is my eye?
I'm going to wipe this thing right out of my eye. I'm going to wipe this thing right out of my eye.
Ask your 70s friends, everybody, what that is.
I think earlier than that, that's South Pacific.
Is it? Oh, it's a song. It's based on a real
60s.
Song? What?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair. Oh, you're thinking of the shampoo commercial that used that.
Yeah, wash that gray right out of my hair is what I was thinking.
That's right.
Of.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was anything else.
Yeah, it's based on a song from South Pacific called "I'm Gonna Wash That Man Right Out of My Hair."
Turns out, I don't know.
Jeannie can correct me. South Pacific, right?
She would know.
High. Yep. Icor confirmed South Pacific.
Well, then I believe it. Yeah, Jeannie, I'm not into your ancient stuff. Look, I try.
Oh, stop it. Yeah.
I try, but it's just not my thing.
Stuff.
I mean, it's older. It's my grandma's watching it. I don't know. It's not my thing. That's all.
Come on now.
Just not exposed to it. I'm not opposed to it. Just not exposed to it.
You should expose yourself.
All right, I'm doing that now, right now. All right, here we go, everybody. Sit back, relax, enjoy. Here's a show for you in 3, 2, 1.
Howdy, Professor. Won't you drop in for a spot of tea? No, thanks, boys, but here's a tip on that English assignment I made this afternoon.
This thing is full of baseball and sex things.
The morning stream. I wonder what kind of world we're opening the door on.
Hey everyone, welcome to TMS. It's Thursday, September 28th, 2023. I'm Scott Johnson with Brian Ibbett. Hi, Brian.
Hello. Hello, Scott.
Has Tina heard that yet? The thing you did? The voice?
No. She hasn't. She'll hear that episode. Actually, we did that post-show, so she listens to the podcast proper. She doesn't. She's not a Patreon subscriber.
Sure.
Whatever.
I don't even understand Patreon.
But so she has not. Nobody who's not a Patreon subscriber has heard it. They don't know.
No, they don't know. So Tina will tell you and others what we did last night in our post show is we synthesized Brian's version of your voice that he does all the time, and now we have an AI reader who can, anytime we need it, will say whatever we want in the Tina Brian voice. At least as close as it can approximate. It doesn't quite.
Yeah, it's rough, man. It captures.
Pitch,
timbre,
right? Pitch. It gets the pitch, but I don't think it gets there's nuance to your portrayal.
There's so much nuance. Like, I think even if if you recorded me doing the Trump voice, I think it would probably just capture like the tone of my voice. It wouldn't get any of the kind of grumbly stuff.
And, the parts where there's breath involved, it's less likely to capture that.
Exactly.
Yes. So, hey, don't worry. The future's coming. We'll all be able to do this.
It's coming. It'll figure all that stuff out, and then we're done, Scott. Then we don't need to do a thing. We can just type in TMS, and it'll generate our podcast for us.
Or we'll give it to
people know.
Yeah,
it's already doing.
It's already happening now. Chat GPT is making the podcast, writing it. It's being fed into Midjourney, which is pooping out video.
Exactly.
The audio is being done by 11.io or what is it? 11labs.io. It's all done. It's all machines now. It's all robots.
Yeah.
And we're just responding.
Robots.
You don't know because it sounds like we're just having a random, back and forth based on what each other is saying. But really,
that's right.
The future.
The real Scott and
here.
Brian are in cryogenic pods right now.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
I'm looking forward to coming out of that one day. Hopefully not Fallout 4 style.
When that thing opens
up. It's gonna reek, dude. It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah.
It's gonna smell like rotten carrots. That's my prediction.
It's gonna smell like the inside of a bowling bag.
That's right. Ooh, gross. All right, we have a very important topic we need to discuss on a Thursday. Look, Wendy's coming later. I'm sure Wendi will have way more important things to say about stuff, but this is an important one that I couldn't get out of my head because I don't actually have a good answer for this. Now, you might say, Scott should have saved this for Bobby, or he should have saved this for someone who's an expert in this area.
Oh, hell no.
Tough poo. It's me and Brian today, all right?
Why on earth would we do something responsible like that?
No, we're not going to be responsible. Are you kidding? Anyway, here is the clip, and then it will self-explain, and then we can talk about it, all right? So here you go.
Why are wet clothes darker, even though water has no color? Water is transparent. Then how does it make the color of a cloth darker? Isn't that concerning?
Now, if I dumped a glass of water on this shirt, right, it would go dark where the water is.
It would be dark, and you're already wearing a black shirt, but right there where you dump the water, it would be darker.
It'd be darker. And if you wore a light shirt, I don't know, orange, it would still go darker. Why?
Right. If I was wearing a white shirt, you'd see my nipples.
Bobby says in the chat, "This is easy." All right. Well, I await your text very, very.
Should we take our guesses as to why?
Well, that's what I want to do here. Why do you think it is that water, while a transparent liquid, let's say this is the purest, clearest water you've ever seen. It's distilled water for Brian's mask thing, right?
Right.
You dump that on your shirt. Oh, shoot. Well, it'll dry. No big deal. But right now you got a big old black mark. Why is it darker?
So here's this is like completely pulling this answer out of my ass. So when you're responding to me in X or on Threads and saying you don't know what you're talking about, then this is exactly where I'm getting this. Okay, right. So cloth is porous.
Yeah.
And the water forms like it basically fills in all of those little holes in between, and the color, like you're basically seeing the color of the clothing refracted through the lens of the water where everything is porous, like everything is. So like if you're wearing a blue shirt and you zoom in really close, you zoom in and enhance on that blue shirt.
Sure.
And you've got all those little holes, right?
Yeah.
So right now where my fingers are, it's blue.
Right.
Well, when the water goes in there, it's filling in all those little holes, and basically it's not closing them up, but because it's got stuff in those holes and it's refracting the color around it.
Yeah.
Refracting is probably the wrong word, but it's basically filling in all those holes, so you're basically seeing blue all the way through.
Okay. I think that's actually a strong theory. Mine's close. Okay. Mine was just about density, because even if it's just damp and not like freshly wet, so you just have a damp mark on your shirt, that to me implies, and it's still dark, that implies that the water molecules are filling up space that normally is unoccupied.
Sure. So far we're parity.
It feels very parity. Yeah, I think we're kind of on the same path here.
Yeah.
So that's our theory.
But what's causing it to be darker though? Like you're saying the water is filling in those spots. Why aren't we seeing if the water is clear?
Oh, right. That's still a good point. Because like if the water, so if the density increases, and
how do you think vacuums?
Brian Ibbett is close, says Bobby. Bobby says, okay, here's what Bobby says. Water has a different index of refraction than air. When it is wet, some of the light gets bent away in different directions. Not as much of the light can make it back into your eye when it's dry. Interesting. Okay. So we're close. We're all on the same page. Yeah. It's where we're at, the refraction deal.
We use the key phrase refraction. And that basically we could have just said, refraction.
Sure. I mean, when we were younger, refraction usually meant like, I'm in the pool and it looks like my legs are tiny or whatever, because that's how light refracted. But in this case, it's more like a light bouncing all over the place in ways that are small and weird to the human eye. But when I heard this guy ask it in this kind of condescending way,
why are wet clothes darker?
I'm like, well, you could... Yeah. You listen here, engagement farmer. Congratulations on this year's yield.
Exactly. In the time it took you, because I'm guessing on TikTok. I'm just guessing based on the music in the background.
Well, it's supposedly of some podcast I've never heard of where they captured it from. But yes, it was made available on TikTok is where I saw it.
Yeah. In the time it took him to record and edit that, he could have gone to Google or gone to, just basically, gone in Google, searched for that, understood it, and then been educated instead of engagement farming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like the person yesterday. I saw one where the guy goes, So isn't it weird that we don't have like just stacks and stacks of autopsy results from all the supposed people that died in concentration camps in Germany? Isn't that weird?
Oh,
and I'm
really?
I had to write back and I said, isn't it weird that when you mass incinerate bodies at an alarming rate and dump their ashes into giant graves that you wouldn't have autopsy results for a pile of ashes, you dipshit?
Exactly. Ugh.
I know. So, look.
You're giving that troll what he wants.
He'll never hear us talk. But the point is.
No, that's true.
The point is,
when you wrote him back, you gave him what he wants.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I get
trigger some libs.
This is the problem. I get really, how do I put this?
Goaded. You get goaded into responding, Scott.
I don't know if goaded's the right word. I take people too much at their face value. So if somebody says something like that.
There's a lot of stupid faces, though.
Yeah.
So that have a zero value, or even sometimes a negative value.
No, you're right. You're right. But I always have this first front line assumption that if somebody's going to say something, they mean what they say. And it's a bad assumption because a lot of people don't, especially in this context of online or whatever.
Exactly. They say it to, again, to get shared, to get retweets, to get likes. By the way, what do you call if you take something on X now and you reshare it to the people you follow? Are you re-Xing it? Are you re-Xing it?
They have a name. It says repost in there, and it's boring.
Oh, repost? Okay.
Yeah, it's boring as shit. How boring is that? You had such an amazing
really
term,
boring.
retweet, and now it's repost? That's stupid.
Repost. Oh,
Stupid. Dumb.
They stole that from Facebook.
Oh, man. I don't know, dude. All I know is once in a while people say dumb shit and I have to talk about it on the show. That's how it is.
Yeah. Bobby again, Frankenberger in the chat. My assumption about the internet is that everyone is a shithead. It's kind of a good way. You're never disappointed, and sometimes you're pleasantly surprised when someone that you assumed is a shithead is not a shithead.
Yeah, I guess as long as you can be open to when they're not.
If you set the bar low, you'll rarely be disappointed. Sometimes people, go down several stages below shithead on the scale, unfortunately. But
yeah, I have the unfortunate instinct in me still, the naive, childlike instinct that I can reason with people. I'd love to reason with people. It'd be great, and I'm happy to do it. But every time I try to engage,
I'd love it if that dude all of a sudden said, this Scott Johnson makes a point. They wouldn't have autopsy results for all the genocide that they committed.
Yeah, no, none of them are going to do that. They're never going to say it, right? Like, so why? You're right. You're all right, Chad. I know. You don't have to scold me like I'm a child. I know I'm wrong in this way. Okay, I get it. What I'm saying is it would be a lot nicer if the world wasn't like that. That's all. So when I approach this shit, I just like to have an open mind. I have less of one online. But when I'll admit occasionally somebody will chip my tooth and I'll be like, you weirdos. And then I got to say something. I just feel like I got to say it.
I 100% agree. I wish I would agree that they would make the world a better place if people, did exactly what you're describing, right? Like you could have a normal discourse with somebody online and it wouldn't turn into, a battle of who can plant their feet more firmly in the ground, basically.
Because wasn't that was the
they
dream?
should have renamed Twitter VS. Like it should have been just renamed Versus because I feel like that's what Twitter is. It's it's a battle between you and the people you respond to, or the people who respond to you.
It's just that the original vision of the internet was a very utopic idea. It was like we all are on, we all can access this stuff in real time, and we can share information. Like those original goals and high-minded ideals still resonate with me, even though we are way past that Pollyannish stage of the internet. That ended probably in the mid-90s. Like we're way past it. But I still like it. I liked the idea of it.
And it's, I mean, there's still patches of it. Obviously, these little communities like we create and stuff. And that's all we can really do is try and infect people with kindness. Because you basically like, here's where Brian gets into hippy dippy. I don't know if you've got any If you've got up and away in my red balloon, or whatever that damn song was from the 60s, or anything from Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
I don't know. I
but
could look. You go ahead and explain it, and I'll try to find something. While
But
you're
yeah,
going.
I mean, basically, it's much harder to change somebody else from a distance. All you can really do is start where you're at, start locally, and just kind of infect everybody around you with the kindness that you hope they will then go and infect everybody. And Kevin Bacon this kindness shit all over the place.
Right. So what if you go into one of these threads? Let's say somebody says, I don't know, they go, hey, I hear the Secretary of Finance is an alien with 3 eyeballs or whatever. Some bullshit.
Sure. Yeah.
Obviously, it's probably not even worth engaging in, because what impact are you going to have? But what could you say in there to go, let's spread some kindness in this guy's shitty thread?
It just really depends. You can look at that thread and say, all right, do they seem, just looking at their post and maybe their photo, if they're sitting in their truck with their sunglasses on and their baseball cap, because that's where they decided they were going to take their avatar photo for X.
Yeah.
If you look at them and say, oh, they look like they kind of have an open mind about this. And I can say, yeah, I know that's what, some people are saying about the Secretary of Finance, but if you look up these photos of them, you can see that they're clearly human and only have 2 eyes.
So I could just be like a little correction bot, and
right,
that'll be the
exactly.
change
Yeah.
I want to see I'll be a correction bot from now
Be
on.
the change. It really does come down to be the change you want to see in the world. And that feels like a little trite, let's just package this up into a little ball that Niffler pooped out of his butt, but really it is kind of it's kind of a good way to live. It's just, be the change that you want to see in the world. Start locally and see if you can infect people.
All right, no more.
spread the stink of kindness wherever you go.
The next time I see a anti, or like a I don't know, someone who denies the Holocaust, let's say.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna drive past that wreck. That train wreck. I'm not stopping
exactly.
there anymore. You guys have got your thing.
Because two things are going to happen. Either they honestly in their heart don't believe it, but they're doing it for the lulz, or B, they genuinely do believe it, and it's very unlikely that you're going to change their mind.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
If you guys have any counter thoughts, you know how to get in touch with us. Let us know what you think. We also got a text from Terry in Chicago. He says his name's really Tony, but it always says Terry in his messages, so I don't know why it's different, but it's really weird.
Okay.
Like, he's Terry Z on all of his social media stuff. We've seen him before.
Yeah, but then he signed it Tony in Chicago.
Unless he messed that up. He may have typed that wrong by accident. I don't know.
Okay.
It's on a phone. But anyway, it says, as to the question which movie set prop you might be interested in taking home, I think McLeod's sword from the Highlander should be in the running. Best to you, Tony in Chicago, formerly Denver and San Diego. So, why wouldn't you want that sword? That'd be a cool thing to have. Absolutely.
That's a really good prop to take home. I wouldn't be surprised if...
it does feel like you'd have to explain it a
Lambert,
lot, right? You'd have to explain to people what sword it is, though. Because it doesn't jump out. It doesn't go,
well, you're not talking about the katana that... you're talking about like Kurgan's sword, right?
I assume so. Is it a sword that you can immediately go, oh, that's Kurgan's and no one else's? You know what I mean?
Let me take a look here. Let's see. The Kurgan sword...
Looking at it now.
Yeah.
It's got those cool
sharp.
spikes
Look at
on
that
it.
thing.
Yeah, those little spiky things at the end. Those are cool.
Yeah.
But you could
they pop out.
You could say, hey, this is Lord of the Rings, and I'd go, oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, you could. You really could. You could say, oh, it's Needle from, well, it gets a little too big to be Needle from Game of Thrones, but TV's Travis knows about this. Of course he does.
Of course he does. Yeah, he loves that shit. So, I just feel like that one doesn't stand out. Now, if you had a prop like Luke's original lightsaber construction that they made out of, flashlight and all the stuff, that would be obviously very iconic, and as soon as you saw it, you would go, oh, yeah.
And even if people didn't know that it was Luke's, they'd still know that it's a lightsaber. They'd be like, oh, yeah, it's a lightsaber. It might be, who knows which Star Warsian it is, but it's...
Sure, and not everything you collect is meant to just show off. I understand it'd be for your own personal enjoyment, and so you would know it's the Kurgan sword, but I just feel like everybody who ever came over, they'd be going, oh, cool sword. Was it like Lord of the Rings or something?
Yeah. Exactly, and the thing is, if you all of a sudden you seem like a pretentious dick if you put little placards up in front of each thing that say, this is Marty McFly's padded vest.
Yeah.
This is...
Yeah. Nobody wants... Then you look like a real wiener.
Yeah.
Nobody
Oh,
wants
see,
that.
now that's sharp. The McLeod Claymore. Now that is a sharp looking thing. And yeah, and he says that it does say McLeod on the...
Oh, it's like etched in there?
It's etched in the hilt is what you hold, right? Or the hilt. I know we talked about this before, and it just goes to show you how I don't remember shit. What's the... So there's the part of the sword that you hold on to, and then there's the part that goes across before you get to the blade.
Right. The part that goes across, I believe, is that the hilt? Yeah, that's the... no, pommel. What's the pommel?
That's the pommel?
Well,
Okay.
or is the stick part you hold with your hand the pommel?
No, I think that's the hilt. I think you hold the hilt.
Okay.
And then that little blocky thing that keeps people's swords from sliding down your blade and just cutting your hands off.
Some are saying crossguard. Is that what that's called? Someone said crossguard, but that's not it. Crossguard's who helps your little kids get off the street.
Yeah, 2 people have said crossguard now.
I don't know.
Is that really okay?
That's just
the pommel is the very end. The pommel is the butt.
Okay.
So that's
the little
metal
because you
part.
can do a pommel strike, of course. Because that's a thing in
Of
video
course you
games.
can. Is that really a thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
in a video game you can. In fact, it's a D&D move for barbarians and fighters.
Oh,
they can
cool.
do a pommel strike.
I only ever play rogues. I don't know these things. I use daggers. Stabby, stabby, stab.
So it is the
Okay,
crossguard.
that's the crossguard. So the crossguard helps you get across the street safely and also keeps your opponent's blade from just striking your hands when it runs down the side of your blade.
Yeah, and they wear like a bright yellow vest so other cars can see the crossguard as they're moving
Gotcha.
around.
And then everything together is the oh, that's really funny. Thomas Chambers says, didn't somebody say something about just Googling the answer? Yeah, but it's really boring radio if we don't talk our way through this.
Yeah,
stuff. Like
that's
if I
the other-
stopped and said, hold on, let's have some silence while I Google.
Yeah.
It's very different than Doofus. I don't know why stuff gets darker when it gets wet.
Yeah, but
He had
even
time.
then,
He had time to
that's
Google.
content, right? That's content for the show. It's the same thing. So,
Yeah.
of course, we're going to do content. You guys are going to have flippant answers. That's the relationship we have with our chat room. That's
So
how it's
then
going to be.
everything without the blade basically is the hilt, the cross guard, the pommel, and the handle.
So
Gotcha.
if you go in for a hilt replacement, they're going to say, all right, well, let me grab the cross guard, let me grab the pommel, and I got this here.
That's right, exactly. I need I need the. I'm going in for a hilt replacement.
Tonda calls it the hilt, the taint of the sword. Very nice. Very nice.
The taint of the sword.
Well, there you go. Also, we got to try something.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to do this a little today because these
Oh, really?
meds my doctor has me on are messing my guts up. But I don't care. I'm doing it anyway.
Oh.
We're doing it.
Okay.
We got an anonymous package. Let me give you a quote from my sister-in-law, Sarah, who stayed here last night.
Okay.
She says, or no, this wasn't from that Sarah. What am I thinking? This is from Sarah Lane on DTNS yesterday.
Sarah Lane, a whole different Sarah.
Yeah, I told her that we got these.
Maybe it was Sarah Lee that said it.
She goes, Scott, don't eat things that were mailed to you, is what she said.
What?
And I said, well, we kind of do it all the time because we trust our listeners. And she said, yeah, I wouldn't do that. But we are. We both
Yeah, I
anonymously.
mean, this is a sealed bag of Wavy Lay's Funyuns flavored. So
yeah, they're all puffed up and everything. There's not even like loss of air in them.
yeah.
So these are Funyun
and I will
flavored.
always trust Choco Mama and her annual delivery of delicious chocolate treats.
So Wayne, did we ever? We never found out who did these though, right? We
No,
don't
we
know.
never found out. And I even put the call out on the show and said, hey, show yourself.
Yep.
Identify yourself.
Yeah, so these are psycho because these are Wavy Lays, which everyone's familiar with, but they're onion flavored potato chips or Funyun flavored.
That's right.
Uh,
There's a difference between onion flavored and Funyun flavored.
Let's get a big whiff of this. Oh, they smell like
Yeah,
Funyuns.
Yep.
Sort of. They smell like a Funyun and a potato chip had a baby, which I guess is the whole idea.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right, I'm.
Go for it.
Oh my
Oh.
God. Yeah,
That's Funyun-y as hell.
that is so Funyun-y
Yeah.
that it's really just the shape is the only thing not Funyun-y
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, there's a real Funyun-ness to this.
Actually, I like these better than Funyuns. I'll say that because you get the flavor of Funyun without that weird. We piped a potato through an extruder and made Brian think for a long time that they were freeze-dried onions texture.
Yeah, and they're just not.
What's a foodie?
A foodie is a guy who's willing to eat anonymous potato chips that taste like Funyuns. Actually, I don't mind that. I think that's okay. It's a little on the sodium side, you know. But
It's a lot on the sodium side. I hate to look and see what is the sodium number.
So are Funyuns, I suppose. But let's see.
Yeah, 200. Oh, it's only 9% of your daily intake of sodium. So about 15 chips, 150 calories.
Not bad.
The entire bag will cost you 400 calories.
Get the flavor of Funyun rings now in Lay's wavy potato chip form. It says on the back, guaranteed fresh.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, anonymous sender who doesn't want to come forward and
Yeah. Who doesn't want to admit that they did this?
maybe now that we've said we liked it, they'll come forward and say, "Oh, it was me."
Yeah. Nobody threw up on air. We're good.
Right, exactly. He's like, "I don't know who sent it." Nope, I don't know.
Generally, we do trust you guys when you send us stuff, so, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But don't do something dumb. Don't send us something gross or sick or, you know, don't do that. That's going to do it for all that business. Let's get into some quick news here before we bring Wendi in at the break. Or after the break, I should say. Here you go. Listen to this. Time for the news, brought to you by...
Brought to you by Coverville today, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, twitch.tv/Coverville. You'll hear my interview with Renee and Jeremy. They are a couple solo artists who got together and harmonize incredibly. Renee is described by Jeremy as a harmony assassin because she nails it on the first try. She's so good. Basically, the way I boil this down to it, if you need some sort of lighter, like light guitar, acoustic, ukulele kind of covers of things, Renee and Jeremy is your jam. If you're a parent that has a brand new kid and you don't want to listen to that lullaby shit anymore, like the rockabye, lullaby versions of songs and that whole thing, listen to what I defined, apparently coined the phrase hushcore music of Renee and Jeremy. Their brand new album covers stuff like Tears for Fears. Who else is on this thing? We talked about so many different songs. I want to make sure I talk about the right stuff. Harry Styles, Steve Miller Band, Madness, Talk Talk. All these are great covers on their brand new album, which is called Shout.
Oh, really?
That's the name. And that's the Tears for Fears song they cover. How do you do Shout and make it fit with listening with small children? Well, listen to my episode of Coverville and find out. And since I've recorded and edited the entire episode, I'll just play it. We'll live stream that episode while I do some Conquest in Marvel Snap.
Nice. Do you know, did I ever tell you that Van's favorite song is Shout by Tears for Fears?
Is it really? You'll have to see what he thinks about this version. See what kids think of covers when they're like, wait a minute, this isn't the version
doesn't make
I
sense.
know.
I don't understand what's happening. Yeah, he likes to be in the car and fakes like he has a microphone in his hand and everything. Goes way into it.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
well, he might be disappointed then when he hears a lighter version if he's used to the heavy one.
Well, I'll try it out actually.
See what you think. Yeah.
Well, there was another thing I was going to ask about that. I forgot what it was.
Well, anyway, twitch.tv/Coverville, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and we'll see you there.
Can't remember. All right. Well, I'll think of it in a minute. Check this out. The 1% of Tinder, listen up. By 1%, we mean like rich people. Okay, listen up. We got a deal for you.
Oh, the 1%ers on Tinder.
Yes. If you're a Tinder user or a person dating and you're loaded, check this out. The dating app Tinder has just launched a $500 per month option for its elite users. Elite.
Yeah.
You know, that's the ones that have a little symbol next to their head, so you know if you attack them, you need a group of 5 or more to take them on. That's how you know who wins.
Excellent. Yes.
The dating app has introduced a premium tier that carries a charge of $500 a month. But even if you can or want to afford that, you're still going to have a hard time getting into Tinder Select. Match Group, that's who runs Tinder. They own all Match.com, all that stuff. Just teased the premium level at its earnings call last month. Quote, the general concept is that we are providing an experience for a small percentage of our Tinder members, says CEO Bernard Kim. Not to be confused with Kim Bernard. 2 first names.
Do you know Kim Bernard?
I don't. Let's see. And the value proposition is basically give these members a better way to get high-quality matches faster and sooner and make the experience overall more fun. We've been actually testing multiple components of this experience with our members today, and we're seeing actual real benefits. So I'm personally really excited about these testing results, says the CEO. So it's also, so not only is it expensive, but it's a very exclusive little chosen group. You'll be lucky if you get in there.
Yeah, no kidding. For $6,000 a year, it basically just be naked people just falling into my house.
Yep.
Is basically what I'd expect from that level of Tinder.
For $500 a month, you could do. Yeah. I'm not saying it's entirely legal, but there's a lot you could do in your love life for $500 a month.
Oh, for sure.
If all you're looking for is hookups and good times and you got loads of money, that's a good premium level.
That's the 99% of Tinder, by the way, is what's looking for that. Yeah. But, it got me thinking, by the way, you're talking about Bernard Kim, not to be confused with Kim Bernard. Would it be cool if, somebody met someone, somebody with 2 first names like this, met somebody that was the opposite set of names? Like if Keith David and David Keith, for example, actors Keith David and David Keith met each other, like obviously a bad example because they probably wouldn't hook up in a romantic sense. One was on Family Affair and is much, much older than the other.
Sure.
I think there were one is older than the other.
Who knows, though? New life chapter for both of them. They're on a cruise and they see each
but
other.
Let's say it's right, exactly. So I mean, let's say it's somebody like Bernard Kim. There's definitely a woman out there named Kim Bernard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love that. I would love it. I'm into it.
Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be awesome if there was if they had a little hookup?
Well, there's a similar. It's not quite the same, but Taylor's husband, Dylan's sister. Her name is. I forgot their names. What are their names? It's a name that anyway. She has the exact same name as her husband, her first name. So it's not the flip thing. But and it wasn't planned, they didn't get set up or something. They just happened to meet, and they both have this name.
The first name Dylan.
No,
this is Dylan's sister. Not Dylan, but
Dylan's sister and brother-in-law. And I cannot remember their freaking name to save my life. It starts with a G.
But Taylor's a great example, because you can easily find somebody with the last name Taylor.
You just need to find a Johnson Taylor somewhere. Right?
Well, yeah, that's that wouldn't be Taylor Johnson, but Taylor Frank. And I'm sure there's somebody out there named Frank Taylor, and the two of them
they belong together is what we're saying.
Let's set up a dating app that just finds your converse. What would be just finds your opposite.
What if we called it X-verse? So XVERSE.
There you go.
Yeah. And we'll pretend we'll design it so it looks like we've got Elon Musk backing or something.
Good. Yeah.
Really boost our numbers with all the douchebags.
For sure. Yep.
And then before you know it, we're the biggest thing on the block.
That's right. Oh shit, you're right. Wabbit Magic. Brian Keith was on Family Affair. So Keith David was on or David Keith was on 6 Feet Under? Who's David Keith? I'm gonna see here. Or is he he's the artist who does the Max, right?
Oh, is that who that is?
Who's the artist who does there's a lot of let's see, David Keith. No, there's David Keith.
Yeah, he's an actor. Oh,
Officer
I know this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd know him if you saw this guy.
Yeah.
Firestarter, old stuff. Major League 2, Daredevil, 2003. We just saw that.
Totally know this guy.
Yeah, he's been around. He's done things.
So then who's the artist who did, was it the Max? Is that David Keith? Might be Kieth.
Oh, and finding a Keith David would be tough.
It'd be much tougher, yeah.
Yeah. Although, well, I've heard some strange names in my life, so I won't put it past somebody. Some parents somewhere named their kid Keith. And I don't want to know those people.
All right. Well,
anyway,
that's a long rabbit hole to go down. But
if you got $6,000 a year and you want to spend it on Tinder, good news. Good news.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a bummer. I wouldn't like this. I wouldn't call this my worst nightmare, but I would not enjoy this. Passengers stuck upside down at an amusement park ride for a rather long time. Thrill seekers spent almost half an hour hanging upside down, and that's a long 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
God, yes.
You may say to yourself, 30 minutes, no big deal. That's Seinfeld and a commercial break. And but
Sounds absolutely like hell.
Yeah, it
For
sounds
sure.
bad. They hung upside down that long in Canada's Wonderland in Vaughan, Ontario, where they were reportedly saying sorry a lot after this. A lot.
So
of
we
sorry.
did a similar story. Somebody's like, "Didn't you already do this?" Rainbow Bright says, "We did one where it was a roller coaster where the coaster thing was stuck at the top of the loop,
Yep.
and people were stuck up there." And said, we asked the question, "Would you rather be the guy at the front of the car or the back of the car?"
Right. This is a different kind of ride. It's called a
This
jackhammer.
is the hammers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call this one the jackhammer. If you look at this, I'll show the chat here. You look at that photo. That's them. I mean, that's more than just hanging upside down. You're in harnessy shit. Oh gosh, that would suck.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is an uncomfortable position right there.
Yep. Here's how they put it. I love the term. The park said the drama happened when a ride known as the Lumberjack, quote, became inverted with guests on board. Inverted. It was 10:40 p.m. The maintenance staff was called at 11:05. They managed to get everyone down by 11:05. Two guests reported chest pain and were attended to the park's health center before being released without needing any further anything. The safety of our guests is always our first priority, says the BBC on their TikTok said this. Park official breezily asking, "Is everyone okay up there?" And getting a resounding "No!
Exactly. Yeah.
We're not okay."
We're not okay. We're upside down, and it's been half an hour.
Yeah, this isn't how gravity and evolution have worked together for millions of years, so that our bodies are used to this orientation. And if you flip us the other way, our blood system, circulatory systems, our organs, all that shit doesn't like it.
We prefer to be head over heels, not like the Alanis Morissette song, "Heels Over Head." No, that's not it. That's not how it
No,
works.
but that would be ironic. All right, so
That
there
would be
we've done
ironic.
it.
Yeah.
We've done it. All right, I hate that story.
That's the like when you described this, first thing I was expecting was one of those roving carnivals that sets up their ride. Basically has a bunch of minimum wage workers that sets up the ride.
Carny
But
stuff.
this is actually an amusement park. It's actually full-fledged amusement park. Get it right, Canada.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm sure stuff has. Well, we know accidents have happened in the Disney parks, but you rarely hear about them anymore. Feels like they got that worked out.
They pretty much do, or they very quietly and quickly brush it under the rug.
Oh, that's why there's so many conspiracies about like there's a dead body in the mountain,
course.
Space Mountain or whatever.
And the Matterhorn.
Yeah, or Matterhorn, whatever it was.
No dead body, but there is a basketball. Well, there used to be a basketball court.
Yeah, that was confirmed, right? That was a real thing.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
And
Michael Gohagan of what was his show? Real Reviews. One of the OG podcasters with us was got to go inside. He started doing Disney stuff, and his numbers just took off when he started doing Disney. So
Is he still rocking it?
I don't know what he's doing these days. He was.
Oh no, he
that
died.
had
He died according to this. Oh no,
What?
no, this is a different guy. There's another guy named Gohagan. Michael Gohagan passed away at the age of 68. That's not him, and he's a radio guy.
Yeah, no. No, and his is spelled Geoghegan or something like that.
Podcast.
Let's see here. Podcast Solutions. It lists the book that he wrote.
Just curious
Yeah, I don't know,
because
it's-
you used to hear his name back in the alley days. That guy was
Mhm.
all over the place.
He was, and this is a guy who, like, man, he knew the business of podcasting. Yeah, really just lists his books more than anything else. Is Michael W. Gohagan
Yeah, there's
or
not shows.
Geoghagan, but
I'm not seeing shows anywhere.
me neither.
Maybe got out.
Maybe he got out.
Maybe broke free of the chains
Yeah.
that we're all tied to. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's funny. It's always fun to go back to these mid-aughts podcasters and just see what's going on. Like I don't know if Keith and the girl are still working, but
I don't either. But coincidentally, today is the 19th anniversary of my first episode. It just now dawned on me that.
oh my gosh,
that
how
started
you
9/28/2004.
are you doing anything on Coverville to market or
Not for the 19th. I might do something for the 20th anniversary a year from now.
Oh yeah, good point. 19's kind of.
But 19, I'll play that Steely Dan song, "Hey 19," and that'll be it.
I like that a lot. Keith and the girl, just checking real quick here.
They're still doing it. They're just not together anymore.
Oh, they're not together, but they still do the
Keith
show.
is no longer with the girl. Yeah, they're friendly exes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is interesting. They say it's trying to describe their show. Topics have included internet phenomena such as 2 girls, 1 cup, and the cinnamon challenge.
Oh, jeez.
That's great. Well, good for them, I guess.
Maybe time to update the bio.
Yeah. They got webcams now. What does that mean? This has not been updated in a very long time.
No, wow. I was gonna say, have they moved on to OnlyFans? That's gonna be tough though. You're in the middle of a breakup. Like, things are fine now, but at the heat of the time when they were like trying to decide if they were gonna stay together or break up, they're like, you think they're both saying, but we still need to keep the podcast because we got a lot of listeners.
Yeah.
We're still doing this, right?
I assume so.
I hate you and I never want to sleep with you again, but we are still doing the podcast, right?
I always wonder about that stuff when you hear about people who can do that, who can figure that out. I think I admire it. I don't know how you do it, though. It seems really hard to me.
I don't either. Listen, Mary Lou Henner got together with both Judd Hirsch and Tony Danza during the taping of Taxi, and I'm trying to figure out, like, how, it's like at some point you're looking at this woman you're acting with and saying, oh, I was sleeping with her for a while. Now she's sleeping with that guy.
Judd Hirsch, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not like an ugly man, but
no, but I'm kind of with you. Yeah.
He's like some curmudgeon-y uncle kind of guy. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if I could make that happen.
She for a brief moment apparently was into that.
Yeah. Mary Lou Henner.
The last season, I'm going to be so glad when it's over, but I feel like I need the closure of this final season.
Has it been a rough one? The end seasons are often rough for older shows like that. No. Yeah.
It's a little rough. They're really leaning hard into they knew the gem of Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
Jim Ignatowski. As soon as they had him, and they said, we need to really lean hard and make every other episode about him. So it's basically Jim, Alex, Jim, Tony, Jim, Elaine, Jim, Louis, and that's it.
When you see a show like that,
kind of Andy Kaufman as well. Kind of they really.
Yeah, that's true. They bled him for all he could give before he left.
Yeah.
But it's a little like Kramer, not quite as egregious, but Kramer had to have B or C story every week in that final couple seasons. That was just the way it was. All right, moving on. Check out this GoFundMe in the news. Oh man.
Okay.
They got the funds. You can fund yourself.
You can me. You can. They got the me.
Yeah, you got the me in there. Anyway, they refunded. Go refund me. GoFundMe refunds donations to poker player who admitted to lying about his cancer for tournament buy-in. You bastard.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah. Gambling, man. There's a point. The fundraising platform GoFundMe said Thursday it refunded money to donors after a poker player admitted to lying about a terminal cancer diagnosis and accepting thousands of dollars in donations so he could play in a World Series of Poker tournament in Las Vegas, Nevada. GoFundMe said it also banned Rob Mercer. Why is that name familiar?
Good.
I know a Rob Mercer.
And Rob Mercer does sound familiar, right?
I mean, there's Matt Mercer over at Critical Role, but that's not it.
Yeah.
Why do I think I know that name? Rob Mercer.
Rob Mercer.
That's so familiar.
It does sound familiar.
Weird. Anyway, got kicked from the thing. Yeah, go ahead.
You can't blame this on gambling. I like how the first thing is like, see that gambling? No, he's a garbage person who just happened to be like, I played some craps with Barry and Tanner this last week. You wouldn't see either of them doing this, right?
No. That's not what I mean.
You never see them doing this.
That's not what I mean. When I say that, I mean people with severe gambling problems will do severe things in their life to get the money they need to go do it. That's all I mean.
I gotcha. Okay, yeah. I still think this person's a garbage person, and they would have lied about this for any number of things.
Maybe.
But I see what you're saying.
I mean, if they're a chronic gambler who can't stop and resort to shitty shit to get it done, I mean that could be part of their part of it. It's like drugs or anything else, I know people will take or drinking. Let's say you're a casual drinker. You drink once in a while.
I'm
no
a
big
very
deal.
casual drinker.
Yeah, and you hold it great, and you have great knowledge about it, and you don't get blasted and stuff like that. But people who can't stop and just go and go
they'll
and
do
go.
anything for that last drink.
Yeah, they'll do anything for that stuff. Yeah. And I always feel bad for those people because I feel like society doesn't quite know what to do with them, Because on the one hand, it's like, well, I don't want to be around that person. But on the other hand, it's like, well, they need help. Do they have help? I don't know. But then you realize, well, I can't do it all. And like you were saying earlier, you can only do your little zone, right? You
can only do your little zone. You can only, work with your little circle.
Yeah.
This guy, by the way, that last sentence is the best one.
Oh, it says, I didn't even get this far. Okay. So he says, here's his apology. I'll give the first part too. He says, "I'm sorry for not being honest about what my situation was." Mercer said, if I would have done that from day one, who knows what would have happened." And then it goes down to this bottom one. It says, "However, the 37-year-old said he would not be refunding anyone because he bellies he has undiagnosed breast cancer."
Yeah.
We'll get it diagnosed.
Again, we're not
you weirdo.
laughing at breast cancer, but still well, oh man, so you really feel bad about deceiving people. Oh, great. Are you going to pay the money back? No, because I think I might have cancer.
Yeah. Go get it looked at. And men get breast cancer.
Exactly.
Go get it looked at then if you think
exactly.
it's stupid.
No, I like everybody to do the buy-in of this thing, but by the way, I actually do. But I think I might have cancer.
Yeah, I think this guy is a turd. Turns out.
Yeah. Tell you what, I'll drive you to the to the center so you can get that checked out, and then we'll interview you afterwards. And see.
Are you in Colorado? Brian's might have a car.
Doesn't matter. I'll drive out there wherever he is.
Wherever he is, you got him. Okay. All right.
I'll go drive. I'll free lift. I'll take you to wherever you need to go to get that diagnosed, and let's see. Shall we?
Yeah.
Let's just see. If you
Let's
really
check
have
that lump in your left breast. Let's do it.
Exactly.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, my sister, the psychologist, will be here. Yes, that's right. A time to help somebody with some problems, and because it's Thursday and it's Therapy Thursday. We're going to do all of that after a song selection from Brian. Some sort of indie in the middle, probably, I would assume.
That's right. And again, I like doing these things where if there's people out there who complain that we don't play enough hard stuff on the show, well, I got a treat for you people who like the hard stuff. This is a band called Dark Remedy. They've got a brand new single called Possession. Pulsating beats, driving guitars, and thought-provoking lyrics. This is some pretty heavy stuff, and hope you enjoy it. Their brand new album do they have a new album? Maybe they don't. I think this is just released as a single. Yes, this is just released as a single. Here is Dark Remedy and Possession.
Every day, first thing in the morning, an associate gets the key. This associate is responsible for continuous availability.
Strap in and get ready, suckers.
And we returned. Who was that again?
That is a band called Dark Remedy. The single is called Possession. Check them out today. Indies in the middles lately have been well, they're always good, but these have been great. Yeah. No, I feel like there have been a few really good ones, like really outstanding ones in the last few weeks.
Yeah,
so.
and people can stop saying you don't bring enough rockin' stuff to the show because
Oh yeah, no, I try to do what I can, right, for all that stuff.
Because the last few have been like ripping. They've been great. All right, we're calling Wendi. That's what's happening. It's blinking as if it's calling her. So who knows if she'll actually
rings of clickage.
There are rings of clickage. No rings of pickupage yet. I just got a message. Oh, you know what? I'll deal with that later. All right. Hey, look at this. We're going to play Wendy's thing. Where is it? It's right here. I can't find it. There it is.
I'll explain the situation to Wendi. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry. Wendy will be here to help you with all your problems.
Don't worry.
Don't worry. Hi, Wendi. My sister, Wendi. She lives in Minnesota, but she comes on the show on Thursdays as if she's right next door and does a little bit of helpful approaches to your mental health out there, everybody. That's what she does. And we call it Therapy Thursday. Wendi, welcome back.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. How's things over there? Everything good?
Good.
Yeah. Been a little crazy here.
Sore throat, so I sound like a frog.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you don't have anything
and
done.
also, I'm telling you, when you have as much vitamin C as I do on a regular basis, this shouldn't happen, right? But it's happened, apparently.
Yeah.
Sometimes those viri can just slide right.
Viri.
Viri. Got a little viri in your bloodstream.
With using the correct term, viruses, we're gonna go viri.
Yeah.
Viri.
Do you?
It went viri.
Do you? It's nothing. Hopefully, nothing serious.
No, I just started last night, so yay for me.
It is that time of year, so get your boosters, get your vaccines, and you'll be all right.
Get your shots.
Get your shots, everyone. All right, Wendi, let's dive in. You sent me a thing from someone who wrote you. And we're going to read it here. It sounds like perfect for the show, so we're going to go ahead and read it. This is from nobody's name, I guess. It's anonymous. We're keeping it that way. Mm-hmm. It says this: my mother in her 70s has always been extremely anxious. On top of this is extreme extroversion, a short temper, guilt trips, controlling behavior, and jealousy. She's a lot to handle. So this past weekend, after she sent a nasty text message to my wife and I politely texted her back that, quote, I care about you. Have you considered therapy for your anxiety or talk to your doctor, unquote. She did not take it well, says this message. There's something mentally off with her. It's not bipolar. The best I can come up with is that she is emotionally immature. He put that in quotes. All of her children and their spouses think she is off. My parents ended up being divorced 20-some years ago, and during counseling, their counselor suggested medication for her, but she refused. Not sure what else to do. Anyway, talking with my wife about my mother, my wife suggested borderline mood disorder. I looked it up, and it absolutely matched up, except for the suicide and self-harm bits. That's the whole of the message. Not a ton there to work from in terms of history or anything, but I think a good launching place for this sort of topic. So where do you want to go with this one? It feels like a common thing for a lot of mother-in-laws, maybe, or moms getting a little older.
I want to hear his wife. Have his wife write in, tell us what she thinks.
Yeah.
No, this is a really, really tough one.
Yeah.
Because we've got a couple things going on. And we're going to take this with a feminist lens. So buckle up if you hate that word.
I like the word feminist.
I like lens.
Lens. Lens. Or maybe
a feminist
with.
lens crafter. Let's do it.
All right.
Quality lens. Quality feminist lens. That's in about an hour.
I was going to say.
Okay, so you guys know what CRT is?
It's a monitor.
We know what it is in relation to monitors.
Have you ever studied with it? Have you ever been in a law school class and used CRT as a lens to analyze?
No, I don't think we do know what that CRT is.
So there's a bunch of CRTs.
That is the only CRT, by the way. The only one is law school.
Okay, so the controversial critical race theory thing, that is not what this is. This is not monitors before we got flat screen LCDs. You're talking about something completely different, right?
Oh, is that flat screen LCDs? Okay.
Yeah.
My point is what that is and what the feminist lens of analyzing things is that you just take a perspective that is not maybe the dominant one in, the world you live in. Mm-hmm. And then you analyze something just from a different angle, right? And you use the literature and the perspective and the lived experience of all those people for a certain framing, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So when we look at, let's just take both bipolar and borderline personality disorder or borderline mood disorder. And then we take it from a clinical, psychiatric, fairly male-dominated perspective. You're going to see mood swings as this negative, terrible thing, and we got to medicate the crap out of that. And it can be you're supposed to solve this, solve for the emotion, solve for the swinging, solve for the thing. And so that's basically the default model, right? And so taking a feminist perspective, or most sort of theoretical or frameworks, emotional-based frameworks for therapy, we'll see this all very differently. Mm-hmm. There's a couple specific ones like IFS, which I've talked about here before, internal family systems. There's also one called EFT, which is emotional focus therapy. And these are they're not like explicitly on the web pages saying feminist theory, but it is essentially what it's saying is from a female perspective, from a lived experience of what it has been to be a female in the world up to this point. And in his mother's case, she's in her 70s. So let's someone do the math for me. When she was born?
She said, let me get the exact date here.
50s? 60s?
50s, maybe even late 40s.
Late 40s, it looks
depending
like.
on where in her 70s she is.
Yeah.
Yes. Good job. You guys are
We only got a window for the 70s, so we don't have an exact year, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So to take her life circumstances, now we maybe have some genetic components. Sorry, anxiety being a very, very genetically predisposed situation. So we probably have that naturally occurring in the mix. But then you've also got whatever experiences this woman has had throughout her life. Okay, mm-hmm. And the reason I'm doing this instead of just saying, well, what you got to do is set some boundaries with your mom, is that it's really tempting. My voice is so weird. Sorry, it's really tempting to.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, it's really tempting to jump right at, I need my distress to be lowered because her distress is so high.
Yeah.
And the numb that, medicate that, X that person out of your life model is, definitely a popular option. And so
it always feels like the easiest one. It's
definitely and tempting. And there is part of me every time that's like, oh, dude, you got to back up. You have no power here, because it's true. You have very little power, and you have absolutely no power if you don't have some influence to help her get what she needs. And not all of your grown adult children should or would have any of that power to do that, right? That's what makes this so difficult. So I should have started with, this is so difficult, guys. So sorry. This is what you're going through. Yeah. It is really difficult, but our take on it, I think there's some ways to view this with some more compassion that would really help. So if I had this person in front of me, I'd say, okay, tell me all the things you've tried. So sending a polite text back, you've tried that. What else have you tried? How else have you attempted to help your mom get some emotional growth or help or whatever? What have you tried?
Right.
And then maybe I dig into what is appropriate for you to be trying anyway, right? As the kid, what is a role you can actually play versus what most kids feel, which is they have a huge role, right? Let's say this emotionally immature diagnosis is correct. Mom didn't sort of fully develop as a person. Well, I wonder why. Let's say she was born in the 50s, clearly had a bunch of kids that all think she's off.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably had undiagnosed a million things. Also, another jab at the male default model is that a lot of medical or psychosocial emotional things are discounted by the medical field for women. They're just not believed or helped in particular ways. And so you build that, and then I don't know what other sort of things were going on for her. So that's what I find interesting is you find out what the adult kid who's like functioning but still has this sort of caretake role, find out what they're doing and what they feel responsible for. So that's important. At the same time, you have to be careful when doing this. If someone really was in front of me, I wouldn't jump right to, well, you need to understand your mom went through the 60s. I'd never do that because they need to first feel validated that it's really hard to have an immature mom.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's okay to go to their second and say, look at what she's been through. Look at, the time that she grew up in, probably repressed.
That's usually second session. I could never quite get there the first. Because here's the thing. It is not okay, the burden on children to take care of their parents emotionally. That's not healthy. It's not okay. And so the work with the person emailing would take precedence definitely before we get to compassion for mom. But it's because that is a burden. That means they grew up too fast. That means they may be more emotionally, I'm using quote fingers here, mature than is appropriate. That may extend into different parts of their life. They're terrible at asking for help even when they really need it. Maybe they're emotionally closed because it's too terrifying to be vulnerable when you were taught that at any minute that could backfire in your face, So I would really want that person to get a lot of support and understanding and working through, whatever trauma exists from being raised by someone unable to maybe be the emotional maturity of their age, right? And then another thing to maybe find out is, when did that shift, if ever? So everyone has different perspectives of their childhood and their memories, right? But sort of checking with this person about, when did you realize I'm more mature than mom? And depending on what number that person gives, we could point to a lot of things that probably shifted in terms of, could be a breaking point or something interesting in their history that might be helpful to look at. So it could be like, at 14, when I realized I had to stop my mom from fighting with the principal about my grades or something.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, I'm the adult in the room,
Yeah.
And that is a normal developmental step at some point in people's lives in an emotionally healthy relationship where everyone's mature enough. There comes a moment where you're like, I got to take the keys from mom, she can't drive anymore. She's going to crash the car, right? You become the adult at some stage.
Yeah.
There's always that question of what are those lines though? Like it's hard to navigate that, especially the question of should I just disconnect from this person? There are probably, I assume there's an appropriate time for that, but how do you even know? Like this is the time where we've done everything. I know that I've done everything, and the only thing left is for me to just remove them from my life as an option. Which you're saying don't do early. You know, even if the temptation is there, like you got to work through this stuff. But isn't there an ultimate line that you cross where you're just like, well, that's all that's left? Like, what else are you gonna do?
Well, and I think people need to be really careful with this line and make sure they're doing the work they need to. I know, I'm going to admit, and maybe other therapists would agree, or they'll think I'm the devil, but there are times where I'm working with someone where I'm like, oh my gosh, just quit your parents. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's too toxic. And I have to manage that because I know maybe it would help them, but that is a massive decision, right? And no one makes it lightly. I think we might assume, oh, well, you want what you want, because that's how boomers talk. But that idea of like, this is years of this. So that's why I would ask the emailer, like, when did this start? Because when you say, oh, I've stopped talking to my mom, I'm 25 or I'm 35. Start when you were 30. That started when you were 12. That started when you were 7. Something has been brewing for a long time, and then you can no longer function in your life without that kind of psychological safety of having a break. So it is a serious thing, and you need someone to work it through with you, and be careful if your therapist wants you to do it too fast. Because there is a temptation to be just like, oh, I know how this ends. Like, this lady's not getting better, or whatever it might be, right? And really, from an ethical perspective, we're not supposed to say anything like that. And even though it might be tempting. The other thing is, like, it is a huge rip of your soul and heart to do something like that for both parties. So to really, really be considerate and intentional, and, work through what you need to work through. Now, plenty of people are walking around like, I haven't talked to my mom for a while, or I need a break, right? They're doing it all the time without maybe the deeper work or the intentionality or processing. And that's just kind of drama and back and forth and back and forth. Now, he never said anything, I think it's a he, said anything about his family, like his siblings. No one's cut her off before. Like, that's not in there anywhere. So I don't know if that's a piece of it. I'm sure there's a mild temptation everyone has to just like have a breather.
Sure.
Or have a break, right?
Yeah.
So, like I'm always saying on this show, do your work first before you try to change anyone else. Because guess what? You can't change anyone else. You've got to do your own, which might include grieving the mother you never had. It might include figuring out where the damage was. I mean, I'm raising teenagers right now, and I have moments where I watch their face and I'm like, does this go on my permanent record? Like, are you writing this down in your soul that I did this wrong? Shoot,
Oh no, is this going to be a whole week of therapy?
Probably, right? And then, but I think there's sort of an interesting generational gap here. There was this psychologist on TikTok who, I can't remember her name. I was going to have it ready, but she did an unintended social experiment. She gave feedback to millennial parents about how to handle when their children are coming to them, giving them feedback that they didn't like something about their childhood, or they were hurt in some way. And just the comment section was very much people like, this has hit home. I think I need help doing this. This is really informative. I need to apologize to my kid. Like, responding in like, oh crap, I didn't realize I was harming them, and maybe I'm handling this wrong. And then she did another TikTok for boomers. And wow, a few people were like, this is helpful. And then it went right into the, like, why do I even need a relationship if my kid's such a snowflake? I mean, that kind of garbage. And you're like, oh yeah, there's an emotional accessibility gap. There's an emotional, I would say, intelligence gap. There's such an improvement in, like, feelings are okay. I've talked about my kids' football team. I swear to you, it's not even football. It's just emotional development class. Like it's so based on like,
Or they just happen to play football on the side after.
Yeah, and that's why they lose every time. But anyway, it's so it's a very different world, right? And I'm going to give you something to cry about is not in anyone's vernacular who is parenting right now, unless they haven't picked up a newspaper or something, right? Like maybe they still are doing it. But anyway, and then so she kind of showed the contrast of the two. And so it's legitimately difficult. We have enough anecdotal evidence here. I'm sure there's actually studies on this. I didn't look it up, but of just the handling the feelings of your adult children. Parenting adult children is really difficult, and you both are doing it. So I shouldn't be the one talking. Though I do have an 18-year-old that I'm like, feel like I'm doing it wrong with. But do you guys have any thoughts on, like, when you read this and you think about handling the mother, like you can probably both relate to that part, but then how about you guys are the 70-year-old relating to your adult children? What would you want? How would you want, obviously a polite text didn't hit the mark. What would you want?
Right.
And then, I'll get into it deeper.
Because we probably, if we were doing this, we probably wouldn't know we were doing it. We wouldn't know that we were anxious. We wouldn't know that we're being judgmental or laying guilt trips on them, that sort of thing. What would work? I mean, because I would completely balk at an intervention. I would basically be like, yeah, you're crazy. What are you talking about? I don't do that at all. You're nuts. And then I'd lay some more guilt trips on them.
There we go. Are you a boomer? Okay, good.
Exactly.
If you think about what it is, it's I've given everything to you. I gave up, and I'm going to say this is probably true for this woman. I gave up my whole identity, right? Any career I could have had. I gave up whatever. You can list the things of whatever. I gave it up, and my payment is supposed to be that you adore me and keep doing what I want.
Right. You're unflailing.
And your success is my success.
Right.
Right. Scott, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, it's funny. We have these conversations all the time, Kim and I, about what our intention will be when it comes to this sort of stuff. Because you can already see as the kids get older, there's already this thing that we used to do where we think we know everything. We think we know everything by 25 or whatever.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so because you think you know everything, and your parents may sense something that's like a slightly counter to that, or maybe culturally different than that, or comes from a different perspective because they grew up in the 90s or 80s or whatever, there's a little bit of an eye roll, like, whatever, Dad, bad, that kind of thing. And so we knew that would be a thing because A, we did it to our parents, and B, it just seems like a natural thing. So our goal is never to let that stuff get under our skin ever. If it happens, you laugh it off. You have a good time with it. You do not meddle in the details of what your kids are doing or what they're not doing. You get out of parenting helicopter mode when it comes to maybe even obvious mistakes they're making. Like if you see one of them making a job choice or something where you're just like, oh, they're going to regret this. Resisting the temptation to tell them that, because now they are literally going to find all this stuff out on their own. They come to you for advice. Great. Give advice all day, but no more interjecting yourself into how are they raising their kids? How are they doing this? Well, when we had babies, this is how the diapers worked then. We're not doing that. Right. We refuse to do it. And we have to make a concerted effort to do that because there's a temptation to do it. If Nick says something where I'm like, oh, buddy, you're such a my temptation is to try to correct him, but that won't solve. That'll
band-aid and it'll placate the now, but it won't teach him how to fish.
Yeah,
basically.
It'll also irritate him.
Yeah, and you're less likely to be asked about anything in the future.
Yeah. He'll resent me. So it's, while it is not easy, and I'm not saying it is, that's been our whole trajectory here. Our plan anyway for this phase of our lives is to be not that. And to be just there when they need us. Yeah. But also, it doesn't mean you don't reach out and say, hey, we're just thinking about you today. Hope you're having a great day. That kind of stuff's going to always happen. I just want this always to be a safe place for them to always be, no matter what safety means. If safety just means Dad's not going to criticize my career choices, great. I want to be that place for them. But if safety also means they had a horrible experience with a relationship and they need to escape back home and talk to their parents, then we want to be that place too. So the goal is to try to be that always. And it sounds easy, but then you'll be in situations where stuff will pop up and you're like, I really want to say this, but I'm not going to do it.
What the heck were you thinking when you started dating that person?
Yeah, exactly. It's like really
we all knew this was going to happen.
Yeah. And I know this isn't a unique experience. Everybody feels this way. I want to try to be, not that if I can. I don't know if that breaks some sort of chain or if Gen Xers are predisposed to doing this better. Maybe we are because we kind of care less than previous generations.
One notices us, so we have an ability to like secretly do things.
Yeah, kind of, right? So there's some of that going on, and I actually feel really good about our chances for this. It's a little harder for Kim when it comes to kids stuff because she's so invested in these babies that she's, if Taylor says, I don't know, I'm making this up, but it's like, Van, don't touch that, and then he keeps touching it, whatever it is. The stove or I don't know what. Kim may have a different method the way she did it and worked with her kids, and it did work, but not wanting to share that without being asked for it is hard.
Yeah.
So she has to hold that stuff back in. So we talk about it regularly so that we're always sort of not paranoid about it. We're not at all, but I just want us to be ready. So if something comes up, we're just not, our first instinct isn't always what we go with. Instead, we stop, think about it, look at the bigger picture, and then try not to piss anybody off. But also,
do you remember how many times you guys were trained to stop, drop, and roll?
A lot.
How many times have you done it in your life?
Then
Zero times.
Yeah, the only time was practice.
But are we all so prepared? And the answer is yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And this is where we're going to apply it. Instead of in a fire, we're going to apply it with our raising adult children. And that is stop, drop, and roll. And the part of the roll, you roll away and then go complain to your friend over pickleball. You find a friend.
Wow, you're really
stop
leaning
telling
hard into that those old stereotypes of the pickleball there.
Yeah.
Sorry. But that idea of, like you and Kim, the answer to be able to do such a thing is that you have the support of someone else who keeps that grounded, right? And my assumption here is this woman in her 70s, I don't know if she's remarried, it doesn't sound like it, but has like maybe nobody to do some of this growing with, right? And no one kind of it's really hard because first of all, again, we got to remember the kids do not have a job here. They are the kids. And that is real hard when you've given up everything and you expect your children to give back to you in a particular way. That has been a long history of humankind. And that is, you will take the business that I started so you can have a life. And that is, you will care for me in my old age. And that is, like all of that stuff that feels, maybe was given out of obligation, given out of love, who knows? But we got a whole generation of folks who are like, hold on, we need to have a real relationship here or not, right? That is a big, big change. I'm not saying it's everybody, but it's definitely happening and of course, maybe it's just the internet that we know about. Maybe this was always happening. I don't really know. But my sense is there's a bit of like, hey, this relationship needs to be healthy. Not, I am just obliged to do these things for my mother. Everyone feels it. And I think that's maybe if parents really understood the power they have of their kids wanting to please them forever, right? And also wanting to be approved of and be, all that's happening at the same time. A parent is like needing a kid to do those things so that they can feel good. So when this is the dynamic, this is the basic dynamic. Then we're going to go to this emailer back to what they're saying. Now we've added a good dose of his mom not feeling good and maybe never feeling good, right?
Right.
So I like this framing when a kid is struggling and having a hard time, is that it's a good kid having a hard time, not a bad kid.
Right.
And this is a good 70-year-old having a hard time.
Sure.
And she's probably had a hard time for 50 years.
You got to frame it. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And here's where the diagnosing is so both helpful and harmful. It's so helpful to have a frame. I can Google this. I can look at the list of things and go, whoa, that person's a narcissist. And I get to, wrap my head around something that has felt really awful. And there's a lot of power to that. Here's where it doesn't have its full, it's not all good, is that borderline personality disorder, borderline mood disorder, all of those different things, if we really look at what it is, where does that come from? And this is where that compassionate part comes in, is somebody's got a wound from some point in their life. And it could be a wound that they never had a voice, they never felt respect. It could be a wound, literally like a traumatic abuse sort of situation that has messed with their ability to accept and feel love, to be appropriately vulnerable, to feel close to someone. So I hear this and I just think, wow, this woman needs help. And here we have a child going, I know, obviously she needs help.
Yeah.
But who is in a position to help her get this help? And it may not be any of the children. Now, I don't know all the numbers on interventions, but it's not looking good. Most of them don't work. And that's partly because the light bulb, joke where the light bulb has to change. You can't, right?
Right. Yes. Right.
How many psychiatrists it takes
to change a light bulb?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's really tricky. So here's where first of all, do you guys have any thoughts on how, when you're powerless and rightfully so, because you are not in a position to mentally change your mother's brain, right? What would be your suggestions for this guy? What to do? And then I'll tell you what I think.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it sounds like, so much of this comes from again, we're looking at the stop, drop, and roll thing, right? Where it's like, all right, let's, even though that's the parenting thing, you kind of got to do with this, where it's like, all right, stop, let's look at where she's coming from, what's maybe caused this sort of thing, and how much of it is it like, how much of it can you just say, this is the way she's going to be, and we need to kind of accept that, and maybe just change, or not change, but help her, help her realize she's doing some of the more extreme parts of it, like the controlling behavior part of it, the short temper, but maybe you're just going to kind of have to live with the guilt trips because she's a mom and that's what they do.
Right. Right. Okay. This reminds me of, do you remember the episode we did about the road trip?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like come up with a playlist that your parents.
Oh, yes. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of that same feeling.
Paint in their colors. Yeah, exactly. As opposed
speak
to
in their language a little bit. And and you almost can, what's the word? Divert is not the right word. Well, maybe divert, where you come at them with the love they actually are really craving.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then they don't need to do the passive aggressiveness. This doesn't mean do everything they want you to do. No. It's a little bit of like step one, accept that this is who she is and nothing's going to change. Step two, start to speak her love language with your boundaries. What is okay, time-wise, space-wise. Like if it's so toxic, it's going to destroy your marriage, you're going to have to be real careful with those boundaries, right? If it's fine, your wife's like, oh, it's fine. Or you think she's harmful to be around your children, which that's the thing. You set those boundaries very clearly. And then within following those boundaries, where can you give her some love in a language she'll understand? So it might be setting a reminder on your calendar and calling every Monday at 8 a.m. and having a chat. Like
or
meeting
going
the
and
need
visiting her
before.
more often, because that's why she's laying the guilt trips on you, because you don't visit enough. And
right. And meet the need before she has to resort to immature tactics to try to get that need met. Now, think small, because there are some people hearing this going like, this is all I ever do. This is all I ever do is I meet all of her freaking needs, And right there, that is a sign. If you are responding that way, then your boundaries are what needs strengthening here. And you need to maybe process some stuff with somebody. If you're already kind of fairly bounded, that's not a word, but then decide how you might find out what it was like for her growing up. Like use curiosity and compassion as your greatest weapons. Like, tell me more about that, Mom. Like getting, and it may just be that it's so negative and toxic, but you got to expect that. You go in with the exact expectation of what you're going to get, maybe do a little bit here or there. Here's the thing, that will increase any influence you might have because she will feel safer and maybe could hear your polite email or your polite text better. Don't make this your full-time job. It is not, right? And like Scott and Kim talking about like managing the stop, drop, and roll, do that with your partner. And then also have limits on that too, so it doesn't drive everybody crazy. And that's not all the things that you talk about.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo that because then you're just now you're just adding scaffolding where it isn't needed. You know, sometimes you overthink it, and that's another thing we talk about when we talk about this is like, you know, let's not go overboard. Let's not have a plan for every dumb thing someone says. Sometimes you just got to roll.
And
with
then
it.
this is a really terrible idea. So just put this in your very back pocket. If all else fails, just meet her passive aggressive with passive aggressive, and you send her the book. Maybe you should talk to somebody. It's good. And there is a character in that book that is this lady. So
wow.
You just start throwing real hard hints, and you just see that will backfire. And don't listen to me. That was terrible advice. But
it feels like such a dangerous road to
don't
go
do
down.
it. Don't do it. But that book just popped in my head. I'm like, oh, that would be really good. Because again, you got to calculate.
It'd be satisfying.
Yeah. Where is the influence? So I just had a session with a client today whose two children are sort of deconstructing their faith tradition, that this mom, it's everything to her. And as we're talking, she's a really bright woman, as you know, very open-minded. This is not like she wants to strangle anyone. She just wants to be herself, and she wants them to be herself. So we really went into, okay, what do you need to grieve? She needs to grieve that they aren't performing the rites and rituals that make her look like a good mother, right? She's got to let go of that. And if I was talking to this grandma, this 70-year-old, I'm calling her grandma, this 70-year-old, I would be, what do we need to grieve here? The loss of your marriage, the loss of your kids having influence on your kids. That feeling you must be getting, that they all think you're nuts. Because guess what they do? They just told like a podcast, and we're all talking about it, right? What does she need to grieve so that when she interacts with her kids, I'd love to get my hands on her. I get that may never happen, that no one will ever get their hands on her, and she's going to stay doing her thing. But you need to grieve that. This emailer and his wife, maybe in cahoots, need to grieve what they need to grieve. And especially the child of an emotionally immature parent. Right. There is work you have to do in order to either get less entangled with that parent, and 9 times out of 10 healing from any of the sort of wounds. It just makes it so much easier to be in relationship with that parent and be less triggered. And then you can do sort of the love connecting thing that, but if you go out of order, you'll know. That's the beauty. If I send maybe you should talk to someone book, and this person blocks it that, well, it's because I went out of order. Yeah. I don't actually have the influence to offer that book.
Right. It's almost like it's like a good screenplay. You have to earn your scenes you're moving toward, or your big crescendos, or your whatever. You can't you can't go from.
You can't. The first scene can't be your big soliloquy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One Christmas we gave everybody on our extended family list the same book, and it was really, we loved it, and it was all about self-deception. It was like just a cool way of framing, like when you blame others for something, you're actually deceiving yourself. And and it was just cool. I thought not even 2 seconds about that would be offensive to anyone. I was young, dumb. Yeah. And what was fascinating was my miniature social science experiment is everyone who was in healthy mental places were like, this is awesome. Whoa, what a cool thing to think about. And there was also a parenting one that I gave to extended family members who we had their name for Christmas. It was just a really cool parenting paradigm kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they loved it. And then the ones who were like, why would you give me this book? You're like, oh no, you didn't read it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing exactly the thing the book talks about. And it turns out it was not meant to be passive aggressive at all. It was just like, we love a book. You guys want a book? And then it was just clear that no, I don't have the influence there, and that person is not done enough of their own work. And that's the reality. If you're talking about a whole generation who hasn't done maybe any work, and then they're talking to their children who are scouring the internet to be better parents, are working endlessly to be kind, or do the things that they don't want to damage their kids with, right? And then we have them still in a parent-child relationship. It's a miracle it's working at all. Sorry to be so hopeful.
No. That's good. It's funny. We're I try not to tie too many recent things into these discussions, but we're having kind of a similar issue right now with somebody who's not a 70-something mother/grandma, but it's the same weird things you have to navigate. And it hit me the other day. It's like, I want to be able to say this thing that just seems so simple and straightforward. I just want to say it, and then it would make sense to anybody who it makes sense to. But this one person is not at all in a place where they will understand it. It will seem passive aggressive. It will seem attacking. It'll seem 15 things it isn't, but it will to them because that's where they're at.
Yes.
And I think what you're saying is it's a kind of another way of saying you got to meet people where they are and then find a way to gain that influence, however that works. And it's not trickery. It's not like manipulation.
It's not trickery. Right. No. It's also like maybe some humility of like, I will never have that influence.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And that's what's happening with a parent who can no longer influence a child. So maybe a general bit of advice here is if you are raising teenagers, and look at me like I know because I'm in the middle of it, but is that you're really pretty done raising them by 16. Everything you have shoved into them is kind of in.
Yeah, it's all in there.
And the rest of the time, 16 to 25, is transitioning out of their circle. So I think we've talked about this before, but we all have a circle around us. And there are certain things that are just your thing in that circle. And when people are getting into each other's circles, where we have a lot of problem. And when you are raising a child, you're in that kid's circle wiping his butt. And you're in that kid's circle telling him how to make friends. And you're in that circle making him eat food. And then you got to back yourself out of that at some point. But when? And most parents maybe don't know when. And they're having their own developmental crises of like, I don't even like my job. Well, I'm going to make sure my daughter will always be here for me.
Right.
So, like you're in your own flux of things. And so really starting, if you even just can grasp that mentality of like, there's a transition and there's a time and a place and that's what's really tricky for these sort of older folks who it's like fear, right? Like I need these people to take care of me.
Yeah.
And they act like I'm weird. You're going to get more borderline-y looking, right?
Yeah.
So I should probably define what that is really quick.
Borderline-y, give us the scientific phrase for
because that was a really good definition used by everyone.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, so really quick. So I maybe one day they'll change the title of this because it's such a weird term. But borderline is kind of the idea of the lines between two people or the border between two egos or two personas is blurred. And I think that's why it was named that way. I can't remember exactly. But so basically it's considered a mental disorder characterized by unstable moods, behavior, and relationships. And we can't be like, oh, that's caused by being dropped on your head when you're 6 months old, right? It's not so clear, but
cut and dry, yeah.
Yeah, but it is based on basically emotional instability, feelings of worthlessness, insecurity, impulsivity, and impaired social relationships. So if you love me, then I'm okay. If we have any real interaction or challenges, I'm so destabilized by that I need to banish you or hate you. So people have to be all in and all good. And if not, they're all out and they're all bad.
Wow.
And that really stark, and it feels really incredibly young, right? You could see a little 2-year-old doing that. Like, you went out and told Mom, I hate you. Yeah. You're like, okay. So it's very developmentally appropriate at a younger age. Yeah. And this is where trauma matters and someone's history matters, why are we stuck in that very young toddler response? And partly because there was probably not safety, right?
Well, part of it too is like I can't speak for this writer, entirely here, but I'm guessing like a lot of us, you're really busy in your adult life now. And it's your prime time. This is you being an adult at the most prime time you're ever going to be. And so these things feel almost like they're obstacles you're not planning on. It's like, I got enough to do. Now I got to worry about Mom having a breakdown over, you know what I mean?
Right,
like
right.
If you had all the time in the world, you could think of all the ways you would like to care for her and what else you could do and all that. But all of us are like,
doing
nose
the same
to the
thing
grindstone
for yourself and for your own families.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why and they don't. It's not that they don't know this. The older folks who are moving past this into their own little new phase. It's just that they don't quite remember it, or they don't quite remember that when you were 30 and your mother called you out of the blue with something crazy, that happened to you too, but you've forgotten what that meant or what that felt like. And so there's a resentment to like, I can't believe mom's doing this. Like, she's 72. She shouldn't be thinking. Like, I've done this with our own mom. Like, some of the stuff she obsesses with, I'm like, why? At this age, why do you even freaking care? And, like, it feels like everyone's in junior high again. But a huge part of it is not them doing it. It's me in the busy space I'm in with my own life, my own family, my own career, like all these things I was trained to be ready for. And everybody, all hands on deck for what your life's going to be. But now I got these weird birds that are all turning 80 poking at me going, what about this? What about that? And I think that I have to remember that sometimes, because I think that's part of this whole problem is we're just so busy.
Take Grandpa Ward. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
He would sit in the background there. If you think of, is there a person that needs to be the center of attention? And the opposite would be a poster of Grandpa Ward,
yep.
sitting in the background.
This guy would sit in the back, smoking on a pipe, not say a word to anybody.
A little bit like pipe, yeah, and just observing, right? Like, that is historically the aging sort of kind of got out of the way. And then also just think about technology and accessibility. If I could call, if my kids, I know I'm with them and I watch them answer the phone every time I call, or I see them text immediately when a friend texts, but they don't text me back. Like, you have a whole nother way to be offended that just did not exist when Grandpa Ward was around.
Yeah, Grandpa Ward just sitting over there mulling around the horrible war experiences he had while he smokes on his pipe.
And that was silent generation dude, right? And then you got boomers who are like, everything works out for me and I'm still the center. And that is real in terms of just a collective experience of, I get the best interest rates and I have all the money. Right? All that stuff is going gangbusters for them. Why would their kids not want them to be the center of the universe?
Right.
And here's the thing. Until you have a child who starts to move away from you, you won't get this, right?
Won't make sense until it happens.
It won't make sense. And then you'll go, oh, okay, I can see why this was really hard for them. And I'm telling you, that is your second midlife crisis, everybody. And this is, how am I going to live the rest of my life? Where am I going to get what I need? If I can grieve that I can't get it all from my kids. But then where do I get it? Right. And people often skip the grieving section of like, I got to grieve this magical thinking that I was going to be the center of the universe forever, and then get on a pickleball court where you are the center of the universe.
That's right. You're the center
okay, real
of that
quick.
pickleball
I'm talking about pickleball a lot for a reason.
Yeah.
Is that
did you just join a pickleball league?
No, but I am going to in 10 years because I'm not that old. But here's the thing. That there's some research on longevity that's really fun to read, all of the different activities you can do and how long you'll live and increase your lifespan. So swimming, you're going to increase your lifespan by 3.2 years. Cycling, I don't know, crocheting, whatever. All these activities we can kind of measure how much longer you're going to live for it. And the best by far, by 6 years, beats every other category by 6 years, is 9.3 years, I think, of extended life if you play a sport with a racket.
Oh, really?
Really?
So it could be squash. It could be ping pong, kind of. It could be badminton. It could be pickleball, tennis, any of those things. And any guesses why?
You're swinging your core around and your heart gets more movement or something like that, if I had to guess.
Swinging your core around. That's a good one. Brian, do you have any thoughts? That's not it.
Because it's a good practice for defending yourself, and that's going to help you live another 9 years. Like it's good sword practice.
Okay, you are doing what every one of us would assume is that physical exercise to make us live longer is the point. But it is not. It is actually the social.
Oh, really?
You
but
can't.
Why with a racket over, playing soccer or playing?
Yeah, why is it the racket?
Bowling or golf
for the swinging
right.
thing.
And those things you can play with other people, sure. But you also aren't getting quite the same physical benefit and the amount of people. So
it's the combo of the two, the social and the
combo.
Okay.
I like the combo.
And you take pickleball, and the reason it is such a sensation is anyone can play it. Tennis is not available to everyone's bodies, ankles, wrists, arms, whereas pickleball really has a longer span of when people can do it.
Right.
But it really is about this sociality, right? So whenever I'm working with anyone who's in the mom 70 plus category, my goal is always to steer them towards creativity, steer them towards self-understanding and development, and get in their butt around people who can talk to them on a pickleball court if no one will talk to them anywhere else. But just having connection and letting them rant about their stupid child's decision to a friend, not to that child, or holding it in and having it come out, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm giving way too much advice to the mom who's never going to listen to this. Whereas, the son, I mean, Scott, you're really right. Like, he's in the thick of living his life, and he doesn't have the support. He has the burden.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really hard and needs to be grieved, because you're not gonna be able to change that. She is, maybe magically one day, I don't know, have her listen to the podcast, see what she says. Give me your address. I'll send her the book. But there's not a lot of power we have in those moments. So you got to do a couple things for yourself, and in order to make some of those decisions. Now, when people have drawn a line and said, I'm no longer in contact with this person, there's a lot of harm that's been done. And so don't discount that when people, just know their heart has been split in half. Yeah. If that is the choices that they're making.
Sure.
Right. Now, can you have a flippant, dumb 19-year-old do that? Sure.
Yeah.
But, that's going to not last. These lasting ones are usually because you have been more mature than your parent the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's really
hard. Yeah. It's hard. That stuff's hard. And the older they get, sometimes the harder it gets.
Totally.
Yeah. And then your parents start saying things like, well, we still have senior sex, or whatever mom said that one time.
Okay.
You remember that? Do you remember that when she said that? I remember just going, all right, that's dinner. See you, everybody. We're going home.
And scene.
That would be it. Yeah.
And here's an example. That's a great example, actually, of I'm still the center of my own musical.
Yeah.
And I'm offended that you don't think I am.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So let me tell you about my old lady sex. And you're like, okay, great. I'm so happy for you.
That's exactly what it was. And what's funny is so the challenge is, as you enter new phases in your life, is to remember that they do that and know that you're going to feel similar things. You're going to have a moment where your kids are like, well, Dad, you don't understand how holographic projection works, or whatever new tech. They're going to have something like that. And as much as people like Brian and I stay up on this stuff, there will probably come a day where we get a little lost in that area. I would rather be prepared for that, so I can say, oh, I haven't heard of that. You want to, maybe explain it to me, or whatever. I want to be open-minded to those things. I don't want to get into some weird thing going, well, the whole back in my day bull crap. I don't want to do it. I'm so against it, but I felt the temptation.
I'm telling you how I'm already doing it. I am doing it in the, you guys, I feel bad. You know where everyone is all the time. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that for you.
Yeah.
For me. And I love to think about, I had to find a payphone every once in a while. That feels like the back in the day for me.
A little bit, yeah.
But I think of it for more psychological reasons. Well, I don't know. Do you guys have any?
I think so. I think I do stuff like, we've been lucky that a lot of cultural stuff from the 80s and 90s.
It's kind of come back.
Yeah, people love it. My kids love the music from then. Like, we kind of raised them on it. So we haven't really had those falling outs. And Kim and I are, we love new music. So that's never been an issue. Even when the kids were in high school, it's like we were finding bands and introducing them to them. And they were like, oh, dude, cool, Dad. And I'll show that to my friends. So we kind of have an opposite thing going there. But I'm sure I do it with stuff like, I'll give you an example. So it's hard for me to understand just how disparate the difference between what people can make in entry-level job positions someone who's trying to, strike out there, and correlate that with what their rent is. It's bananas, right? And you forget it sometimes. So you're like, well, there's a temptation to say, well, let me tell you what I did in 1992. Just worked real hard, and if you work hard enough. But in the back of my head, there's a little voice going, Scott, that apartment you and Kim had was $349 a month.
Oh, yeah. And it seemed like a lot.
It seemed like a lot back then.
I worked hard at my one job that I had to do.
Yeah, well, Kim stayed home and got ready to have the baby during when she was pregnant. Exactly. And somehow we made it all work. But boy, I think it was just due to that hard work grindstone.
Exactly.
And I have to stop myself and go,
Dad, we each have to have 2 jobs and 4 roommates to be able to afford a crap apartment.
Yeah, we had a conversation that went just like that, and it wasn't directed at Nick and B, but we were trying to, because they were talking about how things are hard right now, and like, well, this is what we did, and I kind of realizing what I'm saying as I'm saying it, and then we realized that Nick's rent is more than our house payment.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah, and that's not because Nick picked some fancy place up on the east side. That isn't it. It's because that's the cheapest effing thing he could find in the city. So, and it's kind of a dump, to be honest. So,
so
like so those kinds of things, you have to just be really mindful as you're saying it and try to remember that it isn't what it was. And there'll be ways in their lives that aren't the way their kids' lives. And it'll be the same thing. Everybody has this.
It will. It'll go on forever. And you could, in your attempts to stop, drop, and roll, and add stop, drop, and be curious, maybe, is like, just ask them what it's like instead of telling them what it's like. Like, imagine, or you flip it to the generation before, right? So you could say, if I'm talking to, someone old, I do this with John actually all the time.
Yeah.
He gets going on someone crazy, and I'm like, Joe, when you were 5.
Yeah, no, you do that. You do this all the time with John. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's so easy because the best thing he just wants to hear the story again, and he wants back when it was simple and it made sense to him, and like that's speaking someone's love language, even though it is psychologically manipulative for the sake of all those around.
Sure.
Yeah, and I have found that my kids, like, as Adam repeats a stupid story that does not help with the situation, I'm looking at him like, oh, dang it, this is coming. It's like, we have an answer, and here's an anecdote we'll tell you 4,000 times. And you're like, I don't know how you stop this. It's like a train we're all on. We can't get off.
Yeah.
But be nice to yourself. Try. And good luck to them. Honestly, just email me her address. I'll send her some books.
Okay. Yeah. Wendy's always got homework for you, class.
I know. I'm happy to send a book along anytime. Anytime you guys need me to passively aggressively attack someone in your life, I got it. I got a book.
Yeah, you got a book, baby. Awesome.
Always, yeah.
Well, hopefully this helps. I hope this helps. And if it does, let us know, listener/person who emailed Wendy. And probably tell you first because they reached out to you in the first place. But be curious to hear any feedback. Keep your eye on the prize over there at realsteps.org. When's that opening up?
Yes, we have opened up for registration. So you can go to realsteps.org right now and click on the join us. I forgot what the button says. And it starts November 6th. It's going to run through, we meet Mondays live every Monday. It's going to be at noon Central Time this time. And that live meeting, if you can't make it, you can see the recording afterwards, but that starts on November 6th. And then we finish, their last meeting is December 4th.
Yeah.
So it's going to be awesome. We have lots of good, fun, new stuff. And it's just so fun. Like, such good people. Oh my gosh, I love them all so much. So join us.
Is Elena in her green drink? She's all moved and settled and good. She's all good.
Yeah, right? She's good. She's in the old Florida.
Oh, that's right. America's Wang. The button says sign. The button says sign up today. So that's what you're looking for.
Today. And if you want to scroll to the bottom and just put your email in, I haven't started sending out emails yet, but I'll send a couple with explanations if you want more information. You can also email me anytime at admin@realsteps.org.
Fantastic.
And be happy to walk you through it. So hope to see faces and old faces.
I hope your cold abates soon. I hope it goes away.
Thank you, because it's painful.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Now. A lot of that going around right now,
Yeah.
Good stuff. Hey, I wanted to remind people, get a little schedule stuff going on here. Today, 1 p.m. Coverville, so there's that.
That's right.
Playdate tomorrow, 10 a.m. We'll have a combo of I like this combo of some Jackbox mixed with some Among Us. We'll do that again.
Yeah, it's a good balance for the people who like one but maybe not the other as much or whatever. Yep.
Just mixing things up a bit there, so that'll be fun. Core on Friday this week. John has a thing tonight, so it will not be on the normal Thursday, but we have a ton to talk about. Metzen officially in charge of all things Warcraft. A bunch of other stuff. A Sony executive, the chief executive officer, stepping down from his Jim Ryan stepping down after almost 40 years with the company, or maybe it's 30.
Oh, wow.
He's been there forever, and he is stepping down. So all kinds of news, stuff to talk about, and some games discussion happening on course. So that's 5 p.m. Mountain on Friday Night Live if you want to catch it there. Film Sack on Sunday this week, another shift for someone's schedule, but check us out then. We're doing, oh shit, what are we doing?
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods, that's right. We're starting our Halloween business a little early, folks. Not that early.
Yes, we are. No, we're starting at October 1st.
Yeah.
Like the Sunday is October 1st. So
That's right.
Works out perfectly.
Day one. And also Skim will happen tomorrow sometime. We're working schedules out with Kim and her sister visits and all that. But and a quick update on that. She's comfortable. It could be any time is where we're at. So there's a lot of that going on. There's sisters all over town. I've never seen so many sewn sisters in my life. They're everywhere. But it's good. Wow. They're all here for their sister, and that's good. Finally, Robert from Hooterville wrote in.
Hooterville.
Well, he sort of explains. He says Hendertucky is the self-deprecating nickname for the old Henderson, for Old Henderson, Nevada, by the locals. So there's a little confirmation there. Old Henderson is very blue collar and has its fair share of rednecks. We also call it Hooterville. To this day, this part of Henderson feels like a small town. There are neighborhoods near me that are zoned for horses. We also like to differentiate from the Green Valley, the snootier side of Henderson. I'm really enjoying the performance nonetheless. Robert from Hooterville. I
hope they call Green Valley Snooterville.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Why? Of course.
Yeah, they should. If they're not already doing it, they should. So that actually sounds like a pretty nice place to live.
Yeah, I would live in. Right? I'd live in Henderson. It'd be all right.
Yeah,
everything that he's described. I like old town feel stuff. I'm into it
for sure.
I love the show though. I'm already enjoying the performance nonetheless. Is a great alternative. I like that a lot.
Nice.
Thank you, Robert, for that. Send us your texts 801-471-0462. Send us your emails themorningstream@gmail.com. And join us on Patreon at patreon.com/TMS while the month is still with us. Get in there. It's going to do it for us. Brian, do you have a song to play here at the end of the deal?
Wasn't Hooterville the town in Petticoat Junction? Or was that?
I don't know.
It was Hooterville.
Hooterville. Wasn't that I'm thinking of... What's the Dr. Seuss one? That's Whoville. That's
Whoville, yes. Hooterville at the junction, Petticoat Junction.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It is called Hooterville. Nicely done.
Go.
Petticoat Junction.
Oh, yeah, and Green Acres as well, Jeannie. Is that true?
Yeah. So was, let's see. Yeah, Hooterville was shantytown. Oh, it's actually based on a real town in Seattle. 1933, it was a shantytown called Hooterville, and then a lot of these shows use that as their inspiration. According to this entry on the internet, which we have learned not to always trust, so I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Okay. All right.
Anyway, play us a Hooterville song or something.
Yes, a Hooterville song. I'm not going to, but I'm going to play something for Kyle, Mr. Stephanie Innapets. He says, this is a message from Kyle. Happy birthday, Stephanie Innapets. Oh, look at that. She's in the chat room, exclamation pointing herself.
Nice.
You are the best friend I've ever had and the love of my life. I want to continue to grow old with you. I also hope that you enjoyed the breakfast that I picked up for you. I love you. Hey, Scott, could I get the clip of Steph complaining about apps? I laugh every time I hear it.
Steph complaining about apps. What would I have called that?
Look under apps.
I'm going to look under apps. Let's see here. Apps. The question is, did I keep it or did I not? Sometimes calls I don't keep. Let's see. Steph. Oh, here it is.
I absolutely hate that segment.
There you go. I did keep it.
Nice.
Glad I did.
Well, happy birthday, Stephanie, and good work, Kyle. And I hope you did pick up a very nice breakfast for her. He requested something from Stranger Things, or sounds like it would be in Stranger Things. Well, this is not just a cover of something from Stranger Things. This is a cover that was featured very prominently in a few different episodes of Stranger Things, usually during a very sad moment of the show. It comes from the all-cover album that Peter Gabriel did in 2010, in which he covered a bunch of artists, and then the follow-up to Scratch My Back was an All Scratch Yours, in which those very same artists, or a lot of them, covered Peter Gabriel right back. They covered him right back. This is the David Bowie cover. I'm sorry, this is the Peter Gabriel cover of the David Bowie song Heroes. Here is Peter Gabriel.
Get more at frogpants.com. Am I mistaken, or do I detect the odor of almonds?
Ew.
Almonds are, that smells good.
I like almonds, but if I smelled them in a place where it wasn't appropriate, I would be concerned. You know?
Well, I mean,
I'd be like, am I having a stroke? Like, am I having a stroke? Should this place smell
gotcha.
like almonds?
Okay.
You know? Like, you don't want to be in a place where it's like, let's say you're in a perfume place, but you can smell motor oil. That would be like,
yeah, sure.
You're like, what the
Fair
F?
enough.
Why would I be here? Weird. Anyway,
I could never complain about smelling almonds. I love the smell of almonds and like
Roasted.
almond syrup in my coffee.
Yep. I like an almond roast, like a roasted almond.
Like an almond joy.
Yeah. No, because I don't like coconut.
Well, there you go.
I do like the almonds, but coconut can F off.
But you're not a
not a fan.
I get it.
I am a fan of titles though, so we're going to select some. And
I'm a fan of titles too.
Oh, good.
especially
That's perfect.
These.
That's perfect.
These titles are right in front of us.
Frogpants.showbot.tv is the place to go. If you haven't already voted or submitted, you still have time. We may catch it. I don't know.
The science of the wet spot.
Nice.
Oh, and GoRefundMe is excellent as well.
Yeah, GoRefundMe may end up being a title. It's pretty
that
strong.
might be the show title, yeah.
The hilt is the taint of the sword. Yes. Yes.
Infect people with kindness.
You notice that some of the best titles we get are usually just direct quotes. They're almost always direct quotes.
Yeah.
From stuff we
Yeah.
said. I appreciate those. It's
That's
when you guys
great,
get
'cause
too
then
nuts.
It gives the listeners something to listen for when they hear the beginning of the show and they hear all these things we mentioned, like, ooh, it's like Highlights magazine. Now I've got to find the rake and the glove and the dartboard, you know.
There was always a rake and a glove in those things.
There was always a rake and glove.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. TMS
pros
is
must be
robots.
crazy.
Oh, I like that too. TMS is robots all the way down. Oh yeah.
All around me there are stupid faces.
Let's see.
I use daggers. Stabby, stabby, stab.
That's good. That rotten carrot bowling bag smell. Nice one, Moose.
Listen here, engagement farmer.
Yeah. That's good.
Kevin Bacon, this kindness shit.
Yeah. Tony the Terry. I like that.
That's good.
Let's see.
Straddling Superman's face. I don't know about that one, but that's really funny.
Oh, Dua Lipa. What are you doing? What are you
That's
doing?
right. H2O Conspiracy Theories.
Like that one. Assume everyone's a shithead. I kind of like. Let's see.
Inverted guests.
Keith and No Girl. Oh wait, we need a Wendi.
We need a Wendi. Feminist lens crafting with Wendi is
Yeah,
great.
that's pretty good. Let's do that, and that gives us 16.
Oh, I'd say keep Keith and No Girl. No,
You think so?
wanna
I don't
keep it?
know.
Why
No,
not?
we can keep it. We can totally do it.
Nothing's wrong with 17.
17's fine. When I was 17, I had some very good titles. All right, here we go. Checked only. GoRefundMe. What do you think of that there?
Perfect.
Lucky
Do
Phil. Good job. You did it again, buddy.
Lucky again.
Lucky in Love with Dr. Phil. All right. Export this baby while you do a selfie. You know the drill.
I know the drill.
Oh, that's the guy. You found the puppet guy that Amy made. Ring, ring. I love those guys. Are there old? Can I get old Sesame Street somewhere, like 70s era? Is that a thing that's out there?
You know, I mean, since HBO has, I wonder if you can go watch them on Max, because Max has Sesame Street.
I
don't
would
know.
love that. I'd
Yeah.
go back and that 12 chocolate cakes guy and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Yeah.
10, 11, 12.
Pointer Sisters, that was.
Oh, was it?
Yep, that's the Pointer Sisters.
Did not know that.
Took a break from jumping for my love to count to 12 with a
Wow.
pinball machine.
And that typewriter guy that was like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
and walk out and do shit. I'd love him. I have so
That
many
was
fond
Rob
memories.
Reiner. Just kidding. I don't know.
Me and Wendy, well, it's funny to think of this, but Wendy and I used to love there was a talking clam cartoon, and Wendy, for whatever reason, Wendy and I fixated on this talking clam. And every time we'd bring it up at like a family function, we'd crack each other up. And I don't even remember what the clam said, but at one point it goes like that.
Uh-huh.
And we would just make each other laugh at like Thanksgiving and stuff. I'll have to ask her next week because I don't remember all this stuff. All right, Brian, we've got all we need here. Let's read it.
Okay.
And together we'll read it, you and I.
Okay. All right, I like that. I like that idea a lot.
Pretty sure it's you today. Yeah, it's you today.
Is it me today? Okay, count me in, brother.
Forgot to put Brian in there. I will do that now. There we go. And everything's ready. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
TMS is brought to you daily by the support of our patrons at patreon.com/TMS, like Adam, Eric Cook, and Cody Dixon. Coming up on TMS, the science of the wet spot.
Gross. The hilt is the taint of the sword.
Infect people with kindness.
The bros must be crazy.
TMS is robots all the way down.
All around me there are stupid faces.
I use daggers. Stabby, stabby, stab.
That rotten carrot bowling bag smell.
Listen here, engagement farmer.
Kevin Bacon, this kindness shit.
Tony the Terry.
H2O Conspiracy Theories.
Assume everyone's a shithead.
Inverted guests.
Keith and no girl.
Feminist lens crafting with Wendi and more on this episode of The Morning Stream. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
A flawless victory.
Yeah.
Flawless victory. All right. We're going to do a meeting.
I still have... yeah, that's right. I still have half a sandwich from yesterday's free lunch.
I found out
went
today.
to the soft opening of the Snarfs, the new Snarfs that opened up closer to me.
Okay, this Snarfs place. Need to know what's going on here because you've talked about it before.
Best. Yes.
I want to see
if I could ship you some Snarf sandwiches, I would, but they wouldn't keep.
Snarfs sandwiches. Here it is. I want to look at this. Oh yeah, this is. I did look this up when you told me about it.
Yeah.
They look so good.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, Texas, Missouri. Pfft. Jerks.
Yeah.
Come here. All right. Come here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, these look so good. Layers on layers of rich meats, cheese, and premium toppings.
The best.
All right, chat. We're hanging up on you. Have a great rest of your day, morning thing, whatever it is. Bye.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Bye. Oh, Wayne.